Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Shadow Elite here, and it's time for me to talk about something that's been on my mind for the past couple of weeks. It's JRPGs and this generation. Now, what happened to JRPGs this generation? Well, I'm going to take you guys a little bit of trip down memory lane, starting with the release of the Xbox 360, the Wii, and the PS3. And the next video, I will talk about what I think is going to happen with JRPGs in the next generation. So, let's do this. So, have JRPGs had the best generation this generation? No, not really. No, not at all. It's actually quite arguably probably the worst generation for JRPGs. You see, back in the day on the PS1, oh yeah, let's go back even further, in NES days, we had a lot of RPGs. You know, you had that Chrono Trigger, you had those Final Fantasies, you had those was Zelda an RPG? I don't know. I don't think Zelda's an RPG. Anybody think Zelda's an RPG? Because I don't think. Anyway, yeah, but you get my point. And then we go on to the Nintendo 64, the PS1, and they had a lot of RPGs. A lot of the legendary RPGs come from those times, and they had a pretty good role in a lot of RPGs. Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8, Xenogears, Grandia. This is too many to count. Legend of Dragoon. There's too many to count here. Vagrant Story, Valkyria Profile. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going, and I'll never get to the end of this video. But you see the point. There were a lot of great RPGs that came out in that era. And then you come up in the PS2 era of things, the Xbox and the Dreamcast. RPGs were still going a little bit strong, especially on the PS2, where you had almost what I consider to be almost an endless supply of RPGs coming from the PS2. JRPGs, a lot of them were coming over here. There was no questioning whether they were coming over here. Companies, I believe, during that era were just taking the leap. They were taking the chance, and they were just bringing them over here. You had games like Xenosaga, Shadow Hearts, Final Fantasy games, of course. It's just a lot to name. Pretty much what I'm trying to get at is essentially, for this argument, is that the PS2 housed a lot of JRPGs, and there was just so many. I mean, my JRPG collection, which I think is pretty huge, it doesn't compare to the overall library of JRPGs that are available for the PS2. So anyway, guys, going into the Xbox 360, the PS3, and the Wii era of things have gotten a little bit shaky for the genre. You know, towards the beginning, we had games coming. You know, a lot of developers wanted to test the waters with these consoles. Yeah, Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon, Last Remnant. What else? Infinite Undiscovery. Star Ocean came out, I believe, during the beginning. And these games, I would say, did not do as well as these companies thought. This was pretty much around the time where companies thought that the genre just doesn't sell well, and it's not worth it to create a freaking 40-hour game that takes, a couple of $1,000,000 to create. So a lot of companies just said no to the genre right there. And then the worst thing had to happen was this generation was the economy just went to shit. Now, combined with the crappy economy and how much cost it takes to just create an RPG on better hardware, it just became apparent that many JRPGs weren't seeing the light of day outside of Japan. Now, this also comes pretty much around the time where I would say Xbox was trying to get Xbox and Microsoft, they were trying to get their hands on every single JRPG that came out of Japan, and they were just on it all the time. It took them some time to realize that, Japan and JRPGs, they love each other, and they don't like Microsoft and Xbox. And that's pretty much what happened. Then you have Tales of Vesperia, which had an assload of top content removed from it to fit on, I believe, just one disc for the Xbox 360 version. And then you had other games like Star Ocean, which completely took out the anime portraits from it just so it can be westernized for Western audiences. It's just horrible how Microsoft tried to get JRPGs on their side. They just didn't. They wanted to keep their lead at the time. At the time, the PS3 was really hurting, and they wanted to keep their lead. They wanted to take everything from the PS3, including the JRPGs. They realized the hard way that Japan does not like Microsoft and Xbox 360. And then you have another game like Final Fantasy 13, which to this day, I believe that Microsoft and Xbox completely screwed over Final Fantasy 13 because they pretty much I believe this. I have no claims to back this up. This is just what I believe. They shoved money in Square Enix's face and they said, "Hey, we want this game on our console. Give it to us." And then you could just see from like the first initial trailers of Final Fantasy 13 that the graphical quality was amazing, and then they announced it for Xbox, and then that graphical quality just went down. I believe it was also held back in many ways, and it became the linear hallway because they wanted to simplify it for everybody, or something along those lines. I'm not sure. Don't go crazy on what I say. I'm just saying that I believe that Microsoft and Xbox messed up Final Fantasy 13. That's just what I believe. And then Final Fantasy 13 did not live up to expectations, and this was also around the time when Final Fantasy 13 released. I believe it was 2009, 2010, that a lot of review sites and people just in general did not believe in the JRPG. I mean, they thought they were all cliches, they were all crappy, they were all stale. I mean, this was around the time that games like Hyperdimensional Neptune were coming out, and you had niche titles like that coming out, and they just completely represented the genre in the wrong way. Because this is also around the time where the moe boom for anime came into effect, and you have anime and JRPGs. They pretty much go hand in hand, and this pretty much just messed up the entire genre almost to make it one huge big cliche, and almost that the genre itself has gotten just to become cliche. So now what's going on is now at this point in the generation, not this point in general, but I'm just saying after that point, is that now we have no games coming out of Japan, and it's just become a stagnant market, a stagnant genre almost. So now we have fans begging, pleading for JRPGs to finally come out of Japan. That's where you have stuff like Operation Rainfall coming into effect with stuff like, getting them to get Xenoblade, The Last Story, and Pandora's Tower out of it, which they succeeded in doing. And Xenoblade really put JRPGs back on the map in a lot of review sites' eyes. I mean, I for one thought it was a really good game. I thought it had a great battle system, and just a great story in general. Last Story, I really didn't care that much about Last Story. I honestly did not like Last Story. I'm sorry to tell you guys that, but I did not like it at all. Pandora's Tower I didn't even play because at the time my Wii was just not even hooked up. It's not even hooked up right now. My Wii is completely collecting dust. I might have to trade it in. Probably get nothing for it. Anyway, back on topic. You got Namco Bandai not bringing over any Tales games. We had to beg Namco Bandai to bring over Tales of Graces, and then they had to see if it was selling well, if there's enough fan movement to bring the game over here, and then it did. And I guess so. Well, we got Tales of Exilio, we got Tales of Graces, and then we got Tales of Exilio, and now we got Tales of Exilio 2 on the horizon of 2014. A lot of JRPGs was housed on the DS and the PSP, and they were good, but it's just that they didn't have relevance. That's also a problem. Now, we have our own fan base, and I understand that, but once you don't have relevance, that's when games stop being recognized, and they stop being brought over here. And I have a whole bunch of PSP JRPGs that I love, and DS JRPGs that I love, but in order to get more, they have to be a little bit more relevant, and that, I believe, is just the harsh truth of things. So, we're at the point where we have to show our support for this genre. If not, they will easily be left over in Japan. I mean, look at the collection, the library the PS2 had for JRPGs, and look at the collection of PS3, which is pretty much the house for JRPGs nowadays. It's just not comparable, okay? I mean, the PS2 library for JRPGs is vast and wide and almost never ending. While the PS3 library is, I can safely say, I have most of them. I have most of the JRPGs released on the PS3. I have most of them. I didn't get a lot of games, but I have most of them. Okay, that's saying something right there. There's not been much support for JRPGs coming out of Japan in these years. Now the generation is not over. I'd say we have at least 3 more years before the Xbox 360, the PS3, and the Wii is pretty much no longer supported. And I'm sure there will be more games coming out within that time. But for now, we have the next generation on the horizon. The Xbox One, stupid name. The PS4, which just looks like it's going to house JRPGs, I say. That's pretty much the primary reason I'm going to get it first. And then the Wii U, which will have that awesome, oh my god, Xenoblade game. I don't care. I don't think they named it yet. They ain't named the Xenoblade game yet, did they? But that game looks freaking awesome. I'll get a Wii just for that game. Wii U just for that game. So yeah, I would say JRPGs definitely they took a hit this generation in terms of coming out of Japan, and when they did come over here, you had cliche-ness after cliche after cliche-ness, crap coming from Japan, which they honestly think it cannot be that hard to be original with characters. Okay? But damn it, developers, creators, take a chance. Have a black JRPG name character. Have a freaking I don't know, a character that's not cliche. It can happen. Don't have a 15-year-old boy going around to save the world like all the time, and he's afraid of boobs. Yes, I'm talking to you, Jude. Anyway, guys, that's my rant on this generation JRPGs. It definitely took a hit. It's definitely not as strong. And if we don't support it, we won't see a single game outside of Japan if this continues. So anyway, guys, that's all I have. This little history lesson of JRPGs. I hope next generation they come back, and I'm gonna make a video pretty soon what I think about what's gonna happen with the next generation in JRPGs. Okay, guys, peace. See you later. Leave your thoughts in the comments.